Hello everyone, Mr. Happy Zap here once again, updating you all on my adventure here on my humble abode build. I finally had my, they call it the insulation inspection passed. In my case here, because I spray foamed the outside walls, that basically was passed, well, you know, back in the previous videos when that was basically passed when they sprayed it in. Now, talking vapor barriers here and getting, you know, making sure everything's, I guess, moisture proof, so there's no vapor that can escape from the inside out or the outside in, I guess. So, as you know, around the plates on the inner walls, I had to put that that poly on. I think the rolls are 14 inches wide. So, of course, they continued all the way along. All the inside walls had that between the actual plate you use for your 2x4 wall and the top plate, which connects all the walls together. And so so once you put on your poly, your 6mm poly, coming down, of course it's going to hang down some. So you just go along and cut it off, and leave enough vapor barrier so that you can go along and put on the blue tuck tape. You can't use the red stuff anymore. You got to use the blue for vapor barrier. I guess it supposedly sticks better. But you know, that's you got to follow the rules. So got all that done. And then on the outside walls, anywhere where there's, of course, where there's no vapor barrier was on there. I guess you just don't put it on there. So I had to take some of this black goo, I'll show you that in a second, and go around and any outside walls where there were seams, I had to put this black goo on before I put the vapor barrier down. And then actually in this instance here, I really didn't need to put a vapor barrier. I could have stopped up there, but then problem was there was nothing to staple the vapor barrier there to there. So I would have had to of course put a bead up there, but I just followed it down and did it this way. It was a lot easier. And then taped everything off, and then of course followed that all the way around. Now there's around the pot lights and whatnot. There's two styles of vapor barrier boxes, I guess you would call them. Actually, there's three. This one here is your standard octagon box with the octagon box vapor barrier scenario on it. And anywhere where I use those octagon boxes, had to put them in. Now for the old style pot lights, which I had, and there's nothing wrong with them, still put LED bulbs in them. You have to use these great big guys, and in the trade we call them diapers. But as you can see here, I'll show you in the bathroom. I had to keep the full size of the vapor barrier box just to be able to properly install the fan. Now what that would mean is that I don't have any, that's less insulation value on the outside, you know, as far as depth goes, okay. Now I'm just going to be shoving some Roxol up in there to help facilitate a little more insulation value. And then, but on my pot lights, what I did is I actually literally cut this vapor barrier here. I cut it in a third, and then I cut out maybe a quarter of it. I slid the two together, and then taped all the way around, and that you know, that gave me more insulation value on the sides of the when I blow in the insulation for that. And then of course anywhere where wires penetrate through, you had to tape that all off with that blue tuck tape. And then once your vapor barrier, you know, sitting there, once your vapor barrier is on, then you cut, you know, vapor barrier goes over top when you're installing it, and then you just cut that out, and then you slip it, bring the vapor barrier box, the wings on it, over, and then tape all that up. It's time consuming, let me tell you. I guess even if you're a professional at it, it's still time consuming. It's not like the old days, I tell you. Yeah, they're really making you jump through hoops on this vapor barrier scenario. And of course then on my smaller pot lights, which are the LED pot lights, a newer style, which will just have the driver right here, that style there. Okay, I don't know if I can show you where I have a wire coming through. Yeah, maybe I can show you here. You can see where the wire is right coming through there, and you know, I don't know if you can see it or not. Maybe you can't, but it's taped off. And here it is here, and they're small, smaller footprints, so more insulation value around it, and you have the place for the actual pot light, and then this cavity here, space for your driver. Now, that black goo stuff, it's called acoustic seal, I guess they call it, or vapor and sound barrier. I don't know about sound, but I guess this stuff is messy, sticky, and man, once I got onto it though, what I did is when I brought my vapor barrier down from the ceiling down, you know, I left enough hanging, and I just put the gun up underneath, and you know, just washed it and ran it across. So I kind of kept the mess down to a minimum, but man, it can still get messy. It kind of drips sometimes, and oh, when it gets on stuff, it's like tar. So so once I had that all done, of course, you tape all the joints anywhere, you know, and I had, you know, for some puncture penetrations, like I did over here when the gun slipped when I was putting the resilient channel up. There's spots where, like right there, you know, or there, you know, where I had to, you know, fix the hole. And then I begun sticking up the resilient channel. What resilient channel is, it's just thin steel. I look at it, and as you can see here, you screw this onto your rafter, and then when you screw the drywall onto here, with the rafters, there's not necessarily true, not, you know, the same level and whatnot. And up here, you can probably see how, you know, resilient channel is a little bit wavy, even though the trusses, they call them rafters, trusses, you know, are all even along the backside there. I guess just in the manufacture of them, you know, it's just a little bit of discrepancy. So the resilient channel, what it allows to do, number one, you're not relying on the 2 feet on center to hang your 1/2 inch drywall, which would not be very good. Okay, 1/2 inch, that's too far a span. But then you put this at 16 inch on center, and you're good to go. Now, I had this room over here. I had the vapor barrier up, and I had it all done. Okay, previously, I had the vapor barrier in the kitchen living room area here. It was stapled up in place. There was nothing done. Same with the master bedroom. And then this small bedroom here, I had it up, but I had nothing taped off. Well, I had the tape around, but I didn't have the goo. But even with that, you know, I had to finish off, you know, the hallway here. Had to do the bathroom, all the closets, that hallway, and then hang the resilient channel. It took me 35 hours. Now, you know, professionals no doubt are faster. But let me tell you, I still have a little bit to do over there. You know, that might take me half an hour to finish that up. I need 3 pieces, but even as a professional, it's a time-consuming scenario. And I know from years ago, I mean, we didn't have to go through this many hoops to make houses airtight and whatnot, and that's the reason I went with my wall construction, because once again, had this been typical 2x6 construction, anywhere where I would have had, you know, studs like this together, kings and all that and everything, you'd have to put a vapor barrier on there to satisfy, because they still think vapor can leak through the cracks, or you put that tar on there, that acoustic seal. But because of my monolithic structure, and I've got 2+ inches of spray foam all the way around, that satisfies the vapor barrier scenario. And I purposely did that because you want to make sure your walls dry one way or the other. Well, my outside portion of my walls are going to dry to the outside, and the inside portions here are going to dry to the inside now. Now, if you had typical 2x6 construction, I would have, for me, I would have been concerned because there could have been moisture trapped in places, and I just didn't like that idea. So all the wood is exposed to the drywall, which will allow some permeability there, so the structure should stay nice and dry and whatnot. And Now the inspector, when he came through, it's all passed for the inspection. And, you know, I made sure that I put the goo and all the penetrations, pipes and whatnot going through. And lo and behold, he caught one laying right up in there. And I went, really? And he says, yeah. And I said, holy smokes. And, you know, I thought I was being diligent. And then he had a little bit of concern about this one right there. He said, he says, that's open. I went, oh, it's not really open. I said, okay, no problem. I'll just stick some more goo up in there. So it's all passed, and now they're going to come in and blow in the cellulose insulation, 16 to 18 inches, which gives it an R60. I have put Roxel up in places. I was told, especially in the cathedral ceiling part of it here, or the vaulted ceiling, whatever you want to call it. Anything over 312 pitch, they said, you know, put the Roxel in there so the actual blown-in insulation has something to grab onto, because it'll have a tendency to slide on the plastic. Of course, I only have to come down so far, because at that point, you know, the depth there will hold it in place. And I went into, I did the front porch area, I did this bedroom here, and I did the master bedroom. I put Roxel up. I did it more for, I guess if you want to call it, sound deadening. You know, everybody says, well, you got a steel roof, it's going to be noisy when it rains. I says, well, it's noisy when it rains on even a regular doggone asphalt roof. But I still did that, put that up there to negate some of the potential noise coming through, the pitter-patter of rain. But, you know, I enjoy the pitter-patter of rain. It's kind of nice. And so, but I didn't do anything in the bathroom. But in the bathroom, I did put the resilient channel on 1 foot on center. And because there's nothing up, you know, there's no Roxel up there, so that'll hold the insulation nicely in place. And I think, and then of course that's my suction, or whatever you want to call it, for that HRV system. So I have one in here, and of course I have this fan here. It's Panasonic, and it has its moisture. It's got a humidity sensor in it, so the humidity gets to a certain point, comes on automatically. And it also has a motion sensor, so as soon as you walk in, it'll come on. You can put, you know, it's got built-in timers you can adjust. So because I did this here, I didn't have to put the special switch on this wall here for the HVAC system. So it's just going to be working off its own controller, and the thermostat and whatnot is going to sit here. So this is the 5 conductor for the actual furnace. And this is the wire for the HVAC unit. Now I still have to cut another hole in here to for my return air, because I had it here, but because of my bedroom return air, once again it comes down the cavity because the AC. I'm going to be closing this one in for the most part, and then having about a 1/2 inch space or so in here that allows some draw for this small bedroom. I still have to put one of these guys on the opposite side here. So cut that in. Of course, I've got my vapor barrier boxes on here, so when the drywall goes on, there'd be just less potential for air to get sucked through the boxes. Okay, so I only have 3 in the penetrations there, and of course, you know, went around, put the goo in there, and made sure all the goo is up there so that, you know, the air goes through. It's all good. So, and then the last thing I have to do, and I only got a week to get all this done, is I have to still buck out my windows. So I'm figuring that's going to take a couple of days by the time I cut them, staple them together, put them in place, and make sure it's all ready for the drywall guys. And then I also have to get that shower pan over there installed, along with this product called U-Tile. It's one chunk of fiberglass, and it looks like tile. Looks like it has grout lines, but there's no grout or nothing like that. So it's just let you apply it directly to the studs. And so I have to still get my my 2 hot and cold water lines in here, and same over at the washing machine box. Get those lines dropped in there. All the sinks will be coming out through the floor, so I don't have to worry about that, excuse me, until that time comes. But and you have that piece will come in here. A 5-foot piece goes on this wall. Back up a bit here. that wall there, and then, you know, screwed in. Make sure, I guess I've been watching a bunch of videos on it. Make sure it's good and level, and then they just drywall around it so it goes directly on the studs. Now the floor here, I did have the pan over here. It rocks a little bit, so I'm going to have to put some floor leveler down, and got to be careful with this stuff. I used it before, and it runs like you wouldn't believe. This product here is just called Silk Level, and it's just it's like a, I don't know, cement, but you mix it and it runs, and you have to believe me, you got to make sure anywhere that stuff can go, you got to caulk it all off, and I'll have to build a 2x4 perimeter scenario here, just a little bit larger than what the actual pan is, and caulk the inside of that, and same around here. I'll have to frame around that and caulk it, because once you put that down, yes, and also the crack in the floor here, it'll find anywhere to go. So once it's sitting there, it does a great job of self-leveling, and then I'll have a nice level portion to put down for the pan. And I also probably have to use it in other parts of the house. When I had the house, you know, it wasn't on a roof, I noticed this area in here had a bit of a dip. So I might put a little bit in here to make that flat. I know my back door, for some stupid, strange reason, I've got a dip in here. I got a dip right in here. I don't know why, so I'm going to have to put some leveler right in this area here. Which it's not going to be a big deal, but you just have to get it done to get it all level and whatnot. And I guess this stuff here, you can pour it up to 1 inch thick, and that's quite a bit. I mean, if your floor's out, I've seen a floor with 3/4 of an inch out, but 1 inch, wow. So, and also this back wall seemed to want to dip down all the way. I don't know why. It's just so. And then I'm going to maybe put a little bit of floor level all along the back wall to bring it up. I'll have to get my level on the floor, just see how profound it is. If it's not that bad, I'm not going to worry about it. So, you know, yep, so all the pot lights are in. I have, you know, 10 pot lights here in the kitchen area, and I have 2 boxes here for a couple of those drop-down lights over top of the peninsula, and then I have 4 lights, pot lights in the living room area, and then I have a fan box up here, one of those special jobbies made for vaulted ceilings, for a fan light later if I decide to put one in. You know, got everything all properly taped up around the kitchen vent pipe, and this insulation here was actually hanging down, and once I got the all this sealed up in here, closing the doors, it's actually sucking it up, so it's pretty airtight in here now. So once again, in a couple days, they're going to be coming in, throwing the insulation up top, and when that's done, then I'll have basically no heat loss. Well, I'll still have heat loss, of course, through your windows and whatnot, but my heat loss will be about where it's going to be anyway. Sure, once the drywall goes up, there'll be some dead air space in behind, you know, in between the foam and the actual back of the drywall. So that'll add a little bit of insulation value, and the drywall on there add insulation value. So I'm going to be really curious on what she's going to be like for the heating season next year, although the cooling season is coming up. And I've left in the basement. I have to finish studying the basement off and then get that spray foamed. That'll be the last final inspection. And then after that, I guess it's mainly, it'll be for occupancy. And it's just basically making sure all the certificates are in place. Certificate for the insulation up there, certificate for the electrical, finish that off, or get that certificate. Make sure that I have the gas certificate from the gas company, natural gas company. And then they come in, they look at that, and check to make sure that stairs on the outside have the proper railings around it and everything. And then they come in and they check out to see how hot your hot water is. And I guess that's one of the biggest things, is making sure the hot water is not too hot. So anyway, like I said, I got a little bit of resilient channel to go back up yet, and then I'll be ready to rock and roll. So hopefully the videos are informative for you. Not sure. I don't know. I haven't seen any couple comments here and there, but once again, there's a lot of things you can do yourself. The drywall work, once again, I'm just going to get a crew in because even though I'm getting material contractor price, just like the siding and softening, if you don't do it right, it's going to look like garbage. It's going to look like crap. And I'm happy I did the outside by professionals. I've had a lot of comments on it. And to do it myself, would never have been able to do that quality of job. And the same thing here with the drywall. Get a crew in, let them hang the drywall. I mean, sure, I could have hung the stuff, but you know, it took me like 35 hours to do the last, you know, put up the last, you know, bits and tape off the bit barrier and put up the resilient channel. And so I can just imagine how long I'll be at doing the drywall and then trying to find people to come in to tape it. And then they come along, if they tape it, and they're going, well, who installed the drywall? So I just said to myself, you know what, forget it. Let the professionals come in. And that way, when you get ready to paint, you've got good walls. I've got a good reputable company coming in, so I'm going to be happy with that. So, okay, so I'll probably do a video, like I said, while I'm installing the shower thing, because that's something new for me. A lot of people have asked me about this Utah thing. I says, I don't know. I'm going to find out myself. So, and then hopefully get a toilet in here, so I don't have to keep running down to the local restaurant to do my business, if you get my drift. So, oh, one last thing. I bought one of these miniature Keurig coffee makers because I got tired of buying coffee. And they're a one-shot deal, one-cup deal. I mean, I'm not, you know, it's just one of those little things in life that make you happy. And now I make my own coffee, and right here, and like I said, it's one-shot deal. You can make it up to 12 ounces, and it works really, really good. So, instead of, you know, getting those great big ones, this one here, heck, it was out the door, $100 or whatever, brand new. Probably can get it cheaper somewhere else, but well worth the money, because I mean, the K cups that you buy for them, they're quite reasonable compared to buying coffees at your large coffee places like McDonald's and Tim Hortons and whatnot. So yeah, save yourself a bit of bucks there over time. So anyway, once again, everyone have a cool tool. Have a cool tool. Keep a cool tool. And yeah, and we'll be talking to you later. Bye for now.